Dear Edith, I have not seen you for such a long time. I know you are doing very well, and I am very proud of you.
Hi, my name's Cole Trethaway, and I was the director in the Brisbane Movie Makers project called Edith's Choice. This particular video was written, produced and made by members of the club. The editing was also carried out by a club member, and I've made a short video where I've interviewed both club members and actors, and it's called The Characters Behind the Characters. This is purely an interview with people. This is non-technical, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it, and once again you'll be able to pat yourselves on the back and say we did a great job. Anyway, without more ado, here is the characters behind the characters in Edith's Choice.
Yes, I'm Angela Witcher, and I am a theatre practitioner from the UK originally, with over 30 years' experience as a performer, writer and director. I've worked mainly in theatre, so it was very exciting to be able to move into film when I took on the role of Edith in Edith's Choice.
We aren't just a group of old fogies who sit down to discuss movie making. We actually do produce something. And I think along with the sort of short ideas which we have in the club, which is to do this, what we call the UGG competition, which is just asking people who aren't involved in the big picture to go out and just make short movies about something, a certain subject, then each month bring it in. And to a certain extent that's worked. Some people who haven't been doing anything in the club have actually performed and put something in.
I was excited and I was really nervous at the same time. I'd never, I wasn't so confident with my camera work, and I was, every time I did a shoot I'd always worry that it was going to be a total disaster, and we've had all these people come in and in the end it's going to be all blurry and just a total disaster. And so I'd kind of always be waiting to hear back from the editor June to say, no, it's good, we've got some stuff here that we can use. And so I was always relieved. By the end, by the time we got to our last shoot, I didn't ask for how did the footage turn out. Well, not so quickly. I kind of waited to a normal time rather than kind of sitting by the email waiting to hear back. Yeah, it was really scary actually. But in the end, I felt comfortable by the end, and each time every time that we do a shoot at the beginning, I was like, please tell me it turned out okay, So I was kind of champing at the bit, waiting for the editor, June, to kind of come back to me and say, yep, no, we got some stuff, and it wasn't all blurry, and, that sort of stuff was really a bit nerve-wracking. But in the end, I was less anxious, so I obviously built a lot of confidence in there during Edith's Choice.
Well, I guess I would start by saying that to get to the role, you really had to understand the script. And there has to be material in the script that helps you to do that. And I was really struck by the fact that it was all there. The script was highly refined. It was very easy to understand from it what each scene was trying to achieve and how it fitted in with the overall story. And I emphasise that because that's really important, especially if you don't rehearse the whole thing in time sequence, which you would with a play. That with a movie you need to fully understand that before every scene. So I was able to think about what would be involved in the character in each of the scenes, and imagine what the interaction would be with the person, either on the end of the phone, as it was in the first scene, or in person. And the script gave all the information needed for that, which was fantastic.
Well, I started in the theatre. My name is Glenn Casson, which is a very unusual name. I started in the theatre over 40 years ago. And I always remember my first words. Get your ice cream, popcorns, chocolates. No, I did about 40 odd years ago. I was only 10 at the time.
Oh, liar.
And Val,
yes.
Just moving over to you, I could see you busting to say something. How did you get into theatre in the first place?
It was possibly through a difficult speech
impediment that I had as a child, which warranted years of art of speech, which then introduced me into theatre. So probably, I'm not going to say the number of years I've been in, but I was quite young when I went into theatre. And it's just been a joy, I guess, ever since. It's been an escapism which I've thoroughly enjoyed.
And how did you find... Have you done many films before?
No, I've not for a long, long time. I was married to an army fellow and we moved around a great deal, and I did a few down in Sydney, but they were just very minor roles on television, yes.
Well, my name's Neil Revel. I'm a member of Brisbane Movie Makers. I volunteered to be on the production team for Edith's Choice, and finished up playing a small role. However, I enjoyed what I did.
It was very different to theatre and very challenging. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very nervous. And obviously with making that transition from theatre to film, you have to learn to take some very large gestures and actions and pare it right down so that it comes across as natural, which was a huge challenge.
I like to do things that have meaning, so it's if you can kind of make a difference in the world, and I think this has been the outlet that I've used to try and make a difference, and so I'm hoping. So at the moment, everything I'm doing is really building up those skills, and you can't just say, yep, I'm going to be a filmmaker and I'm going to make a difference in the world. There's a whole heap of skills that you need to build.
Yes, I worked in the corporate theatre, which gave me quite a lot of work. I did motivational speaking, keynote, and you had to introduce a lot of comedy, and I also sing a great deal, being Welsh, you see.
Did people laugh at you?
Well...
Or with you?
With me, I hope. But if you're standing on a stage, say for 3/4 of an hour giving a lecture, you have to interject with humour, because otherwise you're just watching people nod off, and it's so you have to put the odd joke in. That's how I became kind of acclimatised to comedy.
Val, how did you think you would go with the part of Mrs. Green? It took a bit of emotion, didn't it?
It did take a good deal of emotion. I think because the subject was so topical. I mean, we've had so many reports of what happens with banks, that I think that in itself rather brought it home for me. Just the struggle that people who do not have the finances behind them for emergencies, how difficult it must be. So yes, taking on the role of Elizabeth Green, I think for me that brought it home rather poignantly on how difficult it can be.
And I'm a great believer in not actually trying to learn the lines until you have a strong feeling for the character and the interactions, which probably frustrates directors when I'm doing a play. But in the case of a movie where you have minimal rehearsals, then I think it's essential to do it that way. I mean, I personally think it's wrong to learn the line, then try and lay the character over the top.
We had a difficulty with part of the narration in the movie, the bit where the grandmother leaves a verbal message for Edith. So we got the idea that we would pre-record that. So we did that. We got the actor and we pre-recorded her complete piece. Now that was fine. When the movie came to production, that piece was actually played in over the scene that we were shooting. So we didn't need to have the actor there, and we knew the quality and the style of the narration we were going to have. That worked quite well.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest problems in filmmaking, is to make something that's written down on paper actually come alive on the screen. And in this case, Carl did a really good job with the help of all the other people in the team to get the locations that made it suitable to make a movie. And not only that, but then all the people needed to bring it together, the film-making people, the sound people, the actors, the locations. An incredibly difficult job. And in the end, we've got a lovely movie, which is, I think, a tribute to the club's skills that we can then put onto the open market, perhaps, or put into competitions. do almost anything we like with it. And we have a website, we have a Facebook page, and with that idea of a movie, we can do a short version of it. We can put it up on our Facebook page and say to people outside the club, look, this is what we do.
So I had to do some work after the main production work with the director and with the editor to do some of the photo album images, and so the director had used this kind of contraption to do this overhead shot, and we had to get the hands in, and we had to kind of work with the continuity between the production images and what we were doing now, what we were doing at the time. And look, they turned out so good. In fact, it was so good I could not even see what we'd done. It was like we couldn't it was such hard work to think about that contraption and all the work we had to do. It just was so seamless. That was really cool, really satisfying.
I found that the filming out of sequence, which I'm familiar with, it makes that even more important. You know, because you have to understand the purpose of every scene and be prepared to be at that point in the story, if you like.
Were you happy with the way it turned out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was very happy with the way it turned out. I have done a fully professional movie for the Canberra Association of Regional Development. It was a long time ago, but this was every bit as professional in every stage of the process, and that was fantastic. I really appreciated that. You know, we were getting every stage of it from the actor's point of view was tremendous. You know, makeup through the setting of the set, the lighting, sound and camera all ready to go, you know, and that made it much better.
Oh, I got on really well with everybody. It was a fantastic team. I already knew some of the people, so it was really pleasurable to work with them. Some I've worked with before, some I haven't. And the technical team were marvellous. They were very good at explaining what was going to happen at every step of the way, so it made you feel much more confident and secure in what you were doing and able to focus on the character.
I was very surprised on how professional the whole setup was. I don't know what I was actually expecting, but I really was very impressed with how professional everything was handled.
Okay, my name is June Trethaway. My background is in theatre. I have a drama degree. I have done a lot of theatre directing, short film directing, and a lot of acting. Okay,
Edith's Choice. How did you get involved with that, and what did you think about when you got involved with it?
Well, I got involved through the Brisbane Movie Makers. Mum had written the script, and it was a nice storyline. Went through a few different edits, and I was interested in becoming the editor for it because, having seen other short films being made, I feel that the storytelling is in the editing suite.
And how did you approach the edit?
Well, I had a fairly hands-on approach. I decided that as the editor, sometimes you're handed a bunch of disjointed and, you know, not always poorly filmed, but sometimes footage that has bad audio, and you're expected to work miracles. So I've decided to become more heavily involved in the production, so the actual filming and on set.
Would you like to give us some of the examples of your editing?
Okay, let us go this way. So obviously we see the computer and the glass of wine. I will move out of shot.
No, it's well out of shot.
It's out of shot. Okay, all right. Okay, so what will we talk about here? So we'll talk about, this is the edit here. I use Final Cut Pro, which is mainly an Apple editing product. As you can see here, you know, you've got loads and loads of different little clips, different bits of audio. You know, I've got my main storyline along here, and then cutaways all above. At times here you'll see that I've got, you know, up to 3, 4, 5 different audio tracks happening simultaneously. So if we have a look at this section here, we've got a transition between the party scene moving into the house scene. So as you see it move along, you'll see it move through all of these different sound effects. So I will play that for you now. It's got applause, we've got ambient sound, we've got the sleigh bells, we've got the phone. Then we hear the ambient sound outdoors of the house. So there's birds tweeting. Then we hear dog. And then we hear, she actually picks up the phone. Hello. So there's a lot of stuff going on just in a little transition. So my thinking as an editor, I actually saw a fellow who it's called the Blind Film Critic. And he goes to films and he feels that if you can tell the story just by the audio track, you've got a good film. So the audio track should tell as much story as the visuals. I've had a lot of people ask how I do this part here, which is the photo album coming to life. So really, it's quite a simple little trick in Final Cut. Actually, any editing program can do this. So we had a little bit of planning behind this, and what we've got here is the photo album. And if I am to take away what's in here, you'll see what's behind. So what we've used here, yeah, if I can find it, there we go. It's just called keying, so it's chroma key. So if I take that out, there's the original video image, which is the photo album, and we actually stuck a piece of green paper inside the book. So if I put the chroma key back in, the image behind appears. So if we want to see what the image behind is on its own, we'll go down here to the compositing. If I make this front image completely opaque, so if we take it away, adios, there it goes. This is the image behind, which is the footage from the beach, and I've just reduced it and moved it a little bit over to one side so that magically it appears in the photo frame. And because it's moving, it all moves along, we can have that image appear as if it's moving inside the photo album. Hang on, it just keeps moving. So make it full again. There we go. And another technique I used in this quite a bit was colour matching. So you get lots of different footage that's all different colours and lighting, and if you want a seamless looking scene that you don't notice these big changes in the lighting, Final Cut has a really good effect called colour matching. So what we'll see here is this scene where she gets a phone call from the trustee's office is nice warm tones. Then if we go to Steve in the office, he's also nice warm tones, but it didn't originally look like that. So if I go up here to the colour, if I take that out, the original colour is quite blue. So if we were to look between her being nice and warm there and him being blue there, it looks quite jolting. So if I take that there, I've colour matched. And then I colour match that all the way along so that it looks the same. Yeah, that's just a few things. So that's the magic of editing, with just a few little tricks.
Okay, you can have your drink now.
Thank you. I'll have my glass of wine. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, my name's Justin Wallace. I was a producer on Edith's Choice. I say that a little bit embarrassed because the club itself and a lot of the members contributed in different ways to the producing of it. So I really feel that as far as the normal producer's role goes, it was relatively small and it was very easy. All I did essentially was a few legal documents, things like media releases and sign-in books and registries and things like that. Yeah, everybody in the club pitched in that was involved with the film, at least in their little areas, and saw to it that the shooting schedule and script breakdown and prop list and locations were all sort of sourced and sorted and organised. Yeah.
It was interesting that it was filmed in different locations, and I got to drive a sports car and take off into the distance in it, which I think quite worried John, whose car it actually was. But yeah, it was interesting also to see how the setups were different in each location as well, and understand how things worked. So it really made me think and see the complexity of film as compared to theatre. You know, it's very, very detailed.
I think the other thing from the actor's point of view, somebody who does a lot of stage work, as I do and have done, is very important to remember that it's a much more intimate thing with the camera, and not to have the big movements and all that. You know, you have to scale it for the thing, and sometimes even very small reactions are all that's required. You know, very, very small, and to remember to do that, but also be prepared if the director wants you to do it differently. And as I recall, we didn't do it too much differently, but you know, I was ready to take direction if needed.
Festivals like what is it, Golden Hearts or the Gympie Festival, yeah. I think it would fit probably nicely into their style of movie, and I certainly think it's worth submitting it. I think it might do better than I expect.
When I was teaching at uni, I would always talk to my students and I'd say, look, some of you are going to be technical and some of you are going to be creative and you're not going to understand each other. I would say I'm kind of in the middle. I'm more comfortable in the middle. I wouldn't say I'm like this super artistic sort of, you know, like there's some incredible artists around. And then there's some people that just blow my mind away with how technically clever they are. And I'm just in the middle. But, you know, it's a nice balance. I try to find the balance.
The idea of doing a full-blown movie, in this case called Edith's Choice, was fantastic. What we've got to do is follow it up next year or the year after the year after. We've really got to become, I know Neil has said it, a movie-making group. It is difficult because a lot of people aren't capable of doing that. We all know that. Certain people have got the skills to plan it, bring it off, put it all together and bring it off. Other people will be always quite happy just to do their little thing and join in. So the big scene, the picture of movie making, the smaller scene of people who do little things like the UGG, and also put in their movies. I don't think as a group we can afford to become an exclusively movie-making organisation.
I'm doing in the next month a Victorian melodrama called Phantom of the Music Hall, and it involves the audience. So we're kind of a repartee with the audience going on, and that should be good fun. And I'm also doing a cabaret where I have to sing a couple of songs and do some comedy.
What part do you play in the Phantom of the...
I'm mine host.
You're mine host?
Yes, I have to.
You're the chap with the gavel?
That's right. I have to be very perspicacious and use a lot of long words.
And you did just then.
I did, didn't I?
You're doing the part of Captain Peacock in Are You Being Served at Sandgate? Would you
That's
like
right.
to just get a quick plug-in for that?
Oh, I would be delighted. It's a play by the original writers of the series. Those who have seen every episode will actually recognise a couple of bits, particularly in the first half of it, which is in the Grace Brothers store. But in the second half, they go on holiday in Spain, and they go to the Hotel from Hell. And as a result, you know, I think the blurb says something they get out intact with everything except their modesty. And everybody's conscious of the fact that everyone who's seen the TV shows knows the characters. So it's very important to get as close to them as you can so people can recognise them. And we're enjoying that process. It opens in about 3 weeks' time in Sandgate.
At the moment, I'm working on some new murder mystery productions with my theatre company, Inside Outside Theatre. So these will be productions for next year, which we perform at a variety of venues, including cafes, retirement villages, bowls clubs, leagues clubs, wherever anybody wants us, really. And I've actually just drafted my first short film script myself.
I know, I'm really...
I should never see you again. I've left a few memories. Please remember me, Nanny.